Hi folks, I have a new video to show you with some of the stuff I've recently been working on. I've already started this mission so I could build some stuff out and connect to some of these resources that are on the map. There are these blue crystals here and there are some red structures, and I've already connected a network to them. Now, as always, what you see in these videos is a work in progress. So just because you see something, that does not mean it is a part of the game that will ship, nor if you don't see something does it mean that it won't be in the game. A lot of times I cut corners. There's a lot of corners cut here, but I cut corners in order to experiment with a gameplay feature. And I've done that here. For instance, these crystals, to connect to them, you just need to get a tower near them and they hook up. No mine is required or nothing fancy. It's just connected to the network and they can produce resources. You'll see that in action here in a moment. So yeah, I have a little bit of a creeper problem on this map. Just not much of one, but it is something I need to keep an eye on. So let me do that, because I definitely don't want things to get out of hand and for my network to get disconnected. It would cut my access to some of these resources if I let the creeper cut the connecting lines. And I don't want that for a very specific reason right now, because the code's only half complete and a disconnected resource will produce a bug that I don't want to show you because it will be fixed probably tomorrow. But today's Friday and it's time for a video to put on the blog. So we'll just work around that by not allowing that case to come up. But provides a little extra incentive for me to keep an eye on this creeper. Okay, so what are these resources for, you might say? Let's build a structure called a Fabricator, and I'll let him build. Takes 25 packets or so right now, and then I'll set a plan for the Fabricator. Now, what you're going to see is going to be familiar to you if you've played a range of games that deal with fabrication, but don't worry, it's not going to get super duper deep and complex. This is just here to add a little extra spice and flavor to what might drive upgrades and special armaments, etc., as well as create additional points of concern and acquisition points on a map. Anyway, I've built this Fabricator, and this guy short-circuited a lot now as well, so you're not going to see any fancy animations. You're just going to see core functionality. I click on the guy and I can set a plan. The first plan I can set here is to produce anti-creeper. It requires 2 blueite. Well, blueite just happens to be the resources that come from these blue crystals. I have a lot of them, so 2 probably is not a problem to acquire. I'm still keeping an eye on the creeper over here. So let's set that plan. And you'll notice on the actual Fabricator itself, it has 2 cyan or blue shaded squares right now to match the pattern that's shown right here for anti-creeper. And I also show storage for the Fabricator. I'm still clicked on it, and it's producing anti-creeper. It's these cubes with A on them right now. And you can see they're building up in the little stockpile right here. Now, once again, as soon as the requirements are met, poof, it instantly is creating the anti-creeper. No animation, no arms, none of that right now. Core gameplay functionality. Keep that in mind. So we're producing anti-creeper here. You might imagine they would be units that could use this anti-creeper as an armament, a la CW3 style sprayers or bombers. Those or units similar to them may start to appear in this game soon, and this might be one of the mechanisms by which you can produce anti-creeper. But that's not all, so let's build another fab. I'll build him up and set his plan to something else, and you'll start to catch on to where I'm going with this here in a minute, if you haven't already. So once he's built, I will come in here and I will set the plan to something called Resistium that requires 4 anti-creeper. Set the plan. The anti-creeper in our stockpile immediately heads over and starts producing Resistium. Emptied our stockpile, of course, so we will need to produce more anti-creeper before we can produce more of this stuff called Resistium, which consumes anti-creeper exclusively in this example. Resistium, you might imagine, might be another resource that's used to build a structure like a 1 or 2 level wall, say a rectangular piece that you can put on the map and rotate, that is impervious to the creeper. The creeper doesn't damage it. Of course, it's got a limited height, so the creeper could overflow it, but nonetheless, that's one of the examples for what Resistium might be useful for. So you start with this bluite, craft it into anti-creeper packets that can then be crafted into Resistium. So we can, I'll put a little separation here, build another couple fabs. Call them fab because Fabricator is too big to put in the button right here, so it comes out FAB, which of course inevitably makes you think of Thunderbirds, if you're familiar with that. Okay, so we've got 2 FABs ready here, and I'm going to set one of them to this stuff called ARG. Requires 3 red-ons. You can imagine where red-on comes from, the red stuff. Set that plan. Note that on the fabricators right now, the plan is shown right here, and what it produces is shown at the bottom. So the cubes look like what's shown at the bottom. And let's go here and produce Fluxogen. That requires 4 ARG, but it also requires 1 bluite. Why? Because it was interesting to code. So you can see the pattern here. It needs most of this ARG, 1 of the bluites, in order to produce this Fluxogen. Uh-oh, did you see that shake? We got a problem. Where's our problem? Not there. Okay, everything looks okay. It must have been over here. This area. Okay, I don't need this to last forever. I need it just to last long enough to do this video. So, in our 4 factories here, we could see that we are producing bunches of cool stuff. This stuff's making this. This stuff is making this. So we're stockpiling Resistium and Fluxogen. And now, let's build the final recipe that I have currently for testing. Let's put this factory right here and have it build Tuffium. It needs bluite, red-on, anti-creeper, Resistium, ARG, and Fluxogen. It needs all of it. We've got a little stockpile of these guys, but we don't have the rest of the stuff. So they'll start making their way in there. And the algorithms that control this routing and acquisition are hot off the press. There's no doubt half dozen bugs I will be fixing in the next several days. So if you are watching packets route and wondering which ones are requested in which order from what location, don't panic if things don't look 100% the way they should right now. So here we go. Tuffium is being produced from all of this. Now it looks like, since we have no stockpile building up, and bluite and hence anti-creeper is probably a bottleneck for us. Well, yeah, because this guy needs everything. So we've got a couple bottlenecks here, and the bluite itself is probably one of the core and limiting factors. Anyway, you can see the beginnings of a slightly generalized system here, where there may be a set of derived resources which are crafted from a very small set of on-map resources. And again, I'm not going to turn this into some giant production game. I don't want that at all. but I would like a little bit of spice, a little bit of just a tad of crafting that gets introduced across the story missions, instead of just a simple collecting a resource that can be used for all upgrades and all empowerments, that sort of thing. So you might also imagine that there are units that shoot or can shoot an armament, like some sort of Bertha type cannon that can fire a special shell that if you supply it with the right kind of ammunition that you have to craft, it's like a third level craft, then it does more damage, or deposits anti-creeper, or freezes creeper, or creates shock waves, or is useful against critters that might be swimming, or suppresses waves. There's many things that you might imagine. So instead of just simple upgrades, it might be driven by this system. So that's about it. I don't want to go too in depth here. I managed to hold off this very weak creeper long enough to show you this video. So please check in with the blog, join our Discord, check the forums, subscribe on Twitter, check Facebook, all of the wonderful places that I have to post whenever I do anything. So check any of those sources throughout the year, throughout the coming months, as I hope to make some interesting progress this year, and I will share it with you when it seems like a good time to do so. Thanks for watching.